The last time I had been caught, my dad told me that the next time, if there was one, would result in a punishment severe enough to get my attention for a very long while. Of course, at age 13, I knew everything and he didn't know squat. Our family isn't unique, in that I live with my mother, but my dad just sees me once a month, unless I get into trouble of course. My older sister Beth was killed in an accident when the school bus she was in got hit by a car and pushed into oncoming traffic and hit again by one of those big rigs. Mom went a bit crazy, Dad retreated into his work, and I started to get into trouble. But I missed Beth for another reason. She and I used to play dress up, and she always let me be the girl to her being the mother. We had played the night before she was killed. It was our secret, and I didn't think anyone knew except Beth, and now she was gone. My crime? I had chained the neighbor's car to his fence, so when he drove off, the fence went with him. I thought it was hysterical, but my parents took a different view, and this was the next time, so I wondered what sort of punishment would be severe enough to get my attention for a very long time. Neither of my parents are hitters, so I was pretty sure my skin would remain intact, but other than that, all I could do was wait. I was in the den while they were in the kitchen deciding my fate. When they confronted me, both of them were smiling, and I had the fleeting thought that Dad would see my action as a childish prank and let it go. That idea was smashed to smithereens when he told me to stand up, then he said that Mom would be the one to administer my punishment. As we see it, she is the best one to do this, and you will, the word will was emphasized, do everything your mother tells you to do, or she will call me, I'll come over, and we'll do it the hard way. Believe me when I say this, son, do everything she tells you to do, or your punishment will escalate beyond your wildest imagination, and you will certainly not like it if I have to come back to enforce our decision. Any questions? Not being stupid, well mostly anyway, I said, no sir. Good. I'll see you in 2 weeks then. Without another word, he walked to the door and left me there, staring right into the eyes of my mother. She was not smiling. We have known about your playing dress up with Beth for a long time, but it was harmless and we let you indulge yourself. Now, however, we can see that your playing dress up is the tool we are going to use for your punishment. Huh? Come with me. I never had a chance. Within minutes of walking into my room, she had stripped me naked, then, as I stood there desperately trying to cover myself, she checked my entire body, and used a razor to remove any unwanted hairs she found. When Mom was satisfied and I was thoroughly embarrassed, she handed me a pair of panties. I slipped them on in the interest of modesty, watching as Mom sat on the bed looking at me. Before we go any further, I will tell you what we have decided. Now, keep in mind that it will happen. I'll help you of course, but if you fight me in the slightest way, I will call your father and together we will force the issue and the result will be the same. You will dress as a girl your own age, from now until the day before school starts, all the time, with no male clothes except for your gym shoes allowed at any time. Now, will you cooperate or shall I call your father? You will wear the clothes, that's not in doubt. The only question here is will you help me make you pretty, or would you rather I make sure that everyone knows it's you wearing the dress? I had no choice at all. A girl! They were going to make me dress as a girl for the whole summer. I would miss camp, baseball of course, and my friends. What would happen when they found out? I would be dead, that's what. If you work with me on this, I think I can guarantee that none of your friends will recognize you, dear. She's a mind reader too. I had no choice at all. There was no way I wanted my friends to know who I was, so I had to go along with them. I hung my head, a sure sign that I would go along with her. Without a word she went in my closet and brought out a complete outfit, shoes and all, put them on the bed, then took me to her room. At the vanity she brushed out my hair and began to put in rollers. One after the other, she slowly wound them into my hair tightly, then sprayed on some gunk that smelled just awful. On my face all she did was add some powder, a bit of blusher, then plucked my eyebrows a bit, making them arch just a little. At that point I just gave up. She took me back to my room, and showed me how to wear the bra, which wasn't much more than 2 triangles and a few elastic strings. The padding was a pair of shoulder pads out of a dress. I was familiar with the pantyhose, and sat on the bed and pulled them up to my waist, a slip, short and white, then a simple white blouse with a round collar. Over that went a pale blue jumper, and when she pointed, I stepped into the shoes. Mom let me look in the mirror, and I saw the girl I knew so well, except that now, well, she was beginning to look like a girl and not a boy in a dress. Mom sat me at the vanity and brushed out my hair, leaving me with tight curls that framed my face, cute little bangs, and with a barrette on each side of my head. I did look like a girl. She handed me a lipstick, and I drew the pink across my mouth, and all at once, the girl came to life. Mom stood me in front of the mirror again, her hand on my shoulder. "Isn't that better? I said you would be pretty, and I was right. But. Now all we need is a name for you. Did you have one picked out when you and Beth played dress up?" "Emily." She called me Emily Ann. "That's a very nice name, dear. Just get used to hearing it from now until the end of summer. You may go now, but be home by dinner time because we're going to the mall later to get you a few things." "I'm not going outside." "Yes, you are. I am not going to let you waste the entire summer watching television or playing on your computer, Emily. Besides, Mrs. Hanson wants to see you. She has demanded an apology from you for ruining their fence, and I can't think of a better time than right now to get it over with." "Mom." "Don't cry, dear. This is part of learning to admit your mistakes. Now take this purse, walk over there, and apologize. I'll be waiting for you when you get back." My entire life was over. Gone. Dead. The minute Mrs. Hanson saw me in this get-up, it would be all over the neighborhood, which means my friends would know. I pleaded, begged, tried crying, all to no avail. Mom wiped my eyes, redid my makeup, then walked me to the front door, opened it, and told me to go. I had about as much chance of getting out of this as an ice cube on a hot plate has of not melting. With her eyes boring into me, I stepped out of the house for the first time ever dressed as a girl. I felt the breeze on my legs, then, as it whipped up to my panties. I held onto the clutch bag like a football as I slowly made my way down the front walk, turned left, and walked to the next house. I was never more frightened than at that moment, but I had nowhere to go. If I walked a few blocks down, I would be at the park. The other way was where my friends lived. Sure, I admit that I like to wear the clothes, but in private, not out in the open like this, and certainly not in front of strangers, but here I was. I walked up the walk, stood on the porch, swallowed my pride and rang the bell. I was unprepared for what happened next. The door opened and there stood Mrs. Hanson. Young and pretty, she was smiling at me as she opened the screen door. "Emily, how nice to meet you. Your mother has told me what a pretty girl you are, and now I can see for myself that she was right. Come in and join me in the kitchen." I followed her, bewildered by her reaction at seeing me in a jumper and blouse. She led me to the kitchen, set out a plate of cookies and a glass of milk, then sat down across from me. "My husband is very mad at you, Emily, but once he sees what a cute little girl you are, I'm sure he will forgive you." I'm sorry about your fence, it was a joke, that's all." "Yes, but we have to fix it, don't we? And that costs money." "We'll fix it, but we think that you should pay us back." "Can you do that?" "I don't have any money." "That's what we thought, so twice a week we think that you should come over and help me with the chores, like dusting and polishing the furniture, vacuuming the house, and helping me when I do the grocery shopping. I think a few months of that should repay the debt, don't you?" It was meek, but what could I say? I guess. That's the spirit. I think that you and I should find you a pretty apron to wear so that you don't mess up your clothes. Would you like to come along? No. It didn't really matter what I wanted, since my mom showed up shortly after that, and the three of us went to the mall where I had to endure it when Mom bought me 2 new bras, some small breast forms, and 3 aprons. All of them were lacy and very feminine, and I had to try on each one, of course. Mrs. Hanson told me I should always smell good, so she bought me a bottle of perfume, then told me she expected me to use it, which of course meant that I would always smell like a girl, even if I wasn't dressed as one. I had both ears pierced, a pair of small golden rings put in, and Mom picked up a girl's wallet for me. She also picked out 2 pair of shoes for me to try on, white heels and a pair of beige flats. It was downhill after that. As much as I did not want to enter the mall dressed this way, I have to admit that nobody looked at me in a funny way. I never did relax, but I got used to the fear of it clinging to me the whole time. When we left the jewelry store, Mom took me directly to the salon in the mall, made the arrangements, made sure I was in the chair, then left with Mrs. Hanson. The woman doing my hair washed it, then began to put in rollers, small, tightly wound against my head, washed a solution over them, then sat me under the dryer. I leafed through a girl's magazine until she took me back to her chair. I took one look in the mirror, and almost screamed. My once sandy brown hair was now a bright strawberry blonde. Without a word she began to remove the rollers, leaving my hair a mass of ringlets. I feared the worst, but she brushed it out and it got worse. My hair was curly all over, hung down to my shoulders, and made me look more like a girl than ever before. I wanted to cry. Mom and Mrs. Hanson returned about then, smiling when they saw me. Mom paid the bill, took my hand in hers, and we walked back out into the mall. "Now aren't you the prettiest little girl? You're so cute, Emily." Mrs. Hanson was certainly enjoying this, but Mom took a broader view, which I knew when she told me that I wouldn't have to fuss with my hair anymore, since I now had a perm. I knew what that meant. There was no way to avoid looking like a girl now, none at all, which is why Mom did it. I had thought about running away, but there wasn't any way to do that now, unless I wanted to look like a complete dork, even if I could find the nerve to try it. Arched eyebrows, a perm in my hair, and pierced ears was all it took. I would look like a girl wearing boys' pants now. When we got home, Mrs. Hanson told me to be at her house in the morning, and to be sure to wear makeup, a skirt and blouse or a dress, and of course, my new perfume. Mom told her I would be there. Mom told me that all little girls start to learn how to cook at my age, and had me help her make dinner, then do the dishes before she sent me to my room to undress. As I went for my pajamas, all I found were cute little nightgowns. I slipped one on, then joined Mom to watch some television before bed. I had horrid dreams filled with taunting boys, sneering girls, and of course, the image I saw in the mirror just before I went to bed. All I could do was wipe away the tears, my fate sealed by my prank that very day. In the morning Mom helped me get ready again, this time in a skirt and blouse. She let me wear my own gym shoes however, for comfort she said. I found myself standing at Mrs. Hanson's door promptly at 8. When the door opened, her husband stood there. I was thoroughly ashamed to have him see me this way, but he said nothing as he held the door open and let me in. Mrs. Hanson was there, just inside the door. "Emily, do you have something to say?" Did I? I wanted to tell them that this wasn't my idea, and I hated it, but I didn't. I apologized to him for ruining his fence. He accepted it, then went to work, leaving me alone with his wife. She put the apron on me, then showed me how to dust, handed me the stuff, and had me start. It took me most of the day to finish the dusting, and she let me go home at 3. It was like that the next day, only I vacuumed the house. The next day I helped her clean the kitchen cupboards, the day after that she and I straightened out the basement. By the time Friday arrived I knew her house from top to bottom, and I found out that Mrs. Hanson was a pretty nice lady. She and I always took breaks, she fed me lunch, and always let me go home at 3. On Friday, as I was about to leave, she told me I did not have to work on the weekends, just the weekdays. I was almost used to the way the bra straps pulled at my chest, the way a dress feels, and after she got on me about it a few times, I no longer bend at the waist to pick something up. I bend at the knees then stand up. She also told me she would see me later, but I thought she meant Monday. As soon as I got home Mom had me undress, then she once again checked me over for any stray hairs. Taking me by the hand, she filled the tub with bath oils and bubble bath, had me climb in, and told me to clean everything and wash my hair. The minute I stepped out of the bath, she was waiting for me. Once again she handed me the panties, then something new, a padded panty brief. She watched as I put the pantyhose on. At her vanity she watched as I did my own makeup, under her direction, then she brushed my hair back, holding it in place with a banana clip and fluffing it out so that it fell like a plume of feathers down the back. My bangs were brushed down across my forehead, then she changed the earrings from gold to gold and white. I knew something was up, but she would not tell me. I watched her as she opened a small box, then using some kind of adhesive, glued a pair of breast forms to my chest. They looked like I had grown them. Without a word she handed me the bra and let me put it on before she adjusted the straps to fit the new me. Over that went a short white slip, then a very lacy white dress. The shoes were low-heeled and also white. Around my neck went a gold and white necklace, then she handed me 2 of Beth's rings. I put on one each hand, she spritzed me with the perfume and handed me the red lipstick. Usually all I wore was pink. Finally, she handed me a white purse, told me to wait in the family room, and went to change herself. When I saw Mom next, she was dressed exactly like I was. Just then the doorbell rang, and Mrs. Hanson and her husband came in. They were also dressed up real nice, and I just knew that we were going somewhere, and I was right. We have decided that you have worked very hard this week, and you deserve to have some fun, so we are all going to the theme park for dinner, and we'll stay to see the fireworks. Isn't this going to be fun, Emily? I did not bother to answer her, since I had no say in the matter. Mr. Hanson drove, then at the restaurant we were seated and had a really nice meal. Nobody was staring at me, and I did manage not to feel so self-conscious about being there dressed as a girl. Just when I relaxed, one of my classmates sat right across from me. I saw her first, and wanted to crawl under the table, but couldn't and had to endure it when she looked my way. Of course, she did not recognize me, but she knew the Hansons, and with my mother sitting there, how hard was it for her to reach the right conclusion? I saw her eyes go wide, then she smiled at me. Mrs. Hanson took my hand when we left. We walked out on the plaza, found some good seats, and waited for the fireworks display to begin. I sat there between Mr. Hanson and Mom, hoping that my friend would just go home. No such luck. Hi Mr. and Mrs. Hanson, Mrs. Grant. Jenny was talking to them while looking directly at me. Hi Jennifer. Let me introduce Emily. She'll be staying with me all summer. Hi Emily. Can I sit next to you? Everyone moved and Jenny slipped in next to me. I saw her brother Brian, the pest, walking past us. Can I come over tomorrow, Emily? I'll bet we can be good friends. I looked over and saw her brother looking our way, then back at her. He's a pain in the butt, I know, but he'll leave us alone. Maybe you girls can come with me tomorrow. I have some shopping to do, and we can stop for a treat, maybe ice cream. I'd like that, Mrs. Grant. What time? Be at our house at 9, dear. Just like that, Jennifer knew, her brother had seen me, and now we were going shopping tomorrow. Mom never once asked me, she simply made the arrangements. The fireworks went off on time, then Jenny went with her parents and I went home with Mom. All I could do was hope that Jenny could keep her mouth shut. In the morning, under Mom's direction, I once again did my own makeup and got dressed on my own. I wore a skirt and blouse with my gym shoes, my hair in barrettes, soft red lipstick on my mouth, and of course the perfume. Jenny showed up on time, dressed about the way I was, and Mom let us talk for a bit while she got ready. As good as you look, why are you wearing dresses? I chained the Hanson's fence to his car, and my parents decided this would be a good punishment. I have to stay this way all summer, and it wasn't my idea. Well, whatever, I didn't recognize you last night, then I saw your mother. That's when I figured it out. Bill thinks you're cute, by the way. Your brother is a bully, Jenny, and even if I was a girl, I would still think so. Ready, girls? My mother's idea of shopping was to find things for me to wear that would make me look even more like a girl. With the breast forms attached to my chest, essentially, I looked just like Jenny. She found several outfits for me to try on, and I did, with her right there with me. When she saw that I had what appeared to be boobs, I heard her suck in her breath, but she did not ask me about it. 2 of the outfits really did look pretty good on me, so Mom bought them. Then more panties, another bra, pantyhose, a padded panty brief and heels in black. In another shop Mom had me try on, then bought a party dress. She told me that since I would be 14 next week, every girl my age should have a party dress. Jenny and I were sitting together when her brother and some of his friends saw us and walked over. Carl liked Jenny and everyone knew it, including her, so of course she was all giggles and smiles around him. Stan, the other boy, plays third base on our team and knows me well, but he didn't bat an eye when he looked at me. He smiled instead, and Jenny introduced us. I was scared, not shy, but shy is how I came across, and knew it. My fear had turned me into a shy girl. Bill wandered off when he saw that Carl and Stan wanted to talk to us, and Jenny did nothing to discourage them, so all I could do was play the demure little girl. Mom came over and told us she had a few things to get, and if we wanted to stay with the boys, we would meet at the food court, then walked off. Great! Now I was stuck. Carl took Jenny's hand, and Stan put his out to me. I took it, hoping he would not figure out who I am under this skirt. We walked around for about an hour, then met Mom. On the way home we stopped for ice cream, and I got grilled on Stan. I'd known him all my life, but he thinks I'm a girl, so what was there to say? He likes her Mrs. Grant. Emily is just shy about saying it. That was true. Stan did seem to like what he saw, and I was scared to admit it. That's nice, Emily. Girls your age always attract boys. I'll add him to the guest list for your party. Bing, bang, boom, it was a done deal. Mom decided once again, and once again, didn't even bother to ask me, but now I knew the reason for the party dress. She was throwing a party for me. This was going in a direction that I seriously did not like, but with the threat from my father still in my ears, I could only imagine what he would do if I threw a fit and decided not to go along. I might find myself in dresses, and going to school that way. It was not out of the question by the way he phrased it. I had no choice at all, and now that Jenny, her brother, and Stan having seen me, there was no way that I would ever step into the school dress this way. I also had the feeling that if I didn't do my very best to act like the girl I seemed to be, if the other kids didn't find out the truth, then Mom might just make sure they did. Both of them were very angry with me when they gave me this punishment, and I knew that I had pushed them both across the line, and one more attempt, however small, might seal my fate in a manner I would really hate. I looked at Mom. Thanks, Mom, I'm sure he'll like it. Jenny went home while I took all of the new clothes to my room. I was sulking, hiding really, when Mom came in and sat down on the bed, watching it. I hung up the new dresses. Stan seems very nice, Emily. Yeah. He plays on our team. I've known him a long time. All the kids think you're a girl, Emily, and there's no way any of us can deny that, is there? No, but I'm not a girl, so I don't know why you bought that party dress and then planned a party, all without telling me. Now, everyone will think I'm a girl. What happens when I disappear in the fall? They'll come here and expect to find me. How long will it take everyone to figure out that I'm Emily? But you are Emily. You and Beth play dress up all the time, so I don't see what the problem is here. I never went anywhere. I stayed in her room or mine, that's the problem. Don't take that tone with me. Maybe you're right. I should have told you about the party, I suppose, but it was going to be a surprise party, and I thought you would enjoy it. You might as well put a sign around my neck, Mother. This is a boy in a dress, then everyone would find out and I could kill myself and end this. Not one person has looked at you in any way that gave either of the idea that they know you are a boy, have they? That's because you are a very pretty girl, Emily. Even Brian and Stan don't know, and they have known you for years. What you need is just a bit more confidence. Maybe we can do something that will allow you to feel like the girl you look like, and at the same time remove the doubt, if there is any, about who and what you are. You have a little over 2 more months as a girl, and we are not going to waver on that, which means that you and I have to work together to make sure that everyone thinks you're a girl. If I think of something to help you, and it works, will you try to act like the girl you're supposed to be? This was my only chance at saving face, and I took it. If Mom could make it seem as if I were a real girl, then I would not have to worry about being discovered, and maybe I could relax a little. Sure. If you can make sure that I would never be discovered, why not? About 10 the next morning, Mom told me she had found a way, and if I was willing, she was ready to try it. After some searching on the internet, I read a story that details how to do this, and I think we can make you look more like a girl, so lay on the bed, on your back, and I'll get the ice bag. Ice bag? I need it to shrink you a little. Get undressed, lie on the bed, and I'll begin. Before she started, Mom explained it to me, and while I had my doubts, she was right about making it easier on me all around. If it worked, it would eliminate any problems that might arise if I continued to simply fold it away. Mom asked me if I was ready, then without waiting for an answer, she put that ice bag right on my groin and held it there, peeking once in a while, until she took it away. She pushed, tugged and folded, then used the medical superglue to hold everything in place, waiting for a few minutes before she took her hand away. Oh my! That works just wonderfully. Stand up and take a look, Emily. All traces of my manhood had disappeared, replaced by what looked like a vagina. I let my finger trace the thin line that was defined by the folded skin, and felt the very tip of my manhood, hidden inside the folds. My fingers traced the new slit, and wondered if it would hurt when I walked or moved, so I tried it. The only really strange sensation was the lack of bulk. My legs fell together like they should have, and I did not feel the strain on my thighs when I had to push them together. Mom tossed me a pair of panties, and when I slipped them on, I saw that I now looked just like any girl my age. It was like a great weight had been lifted from my shoulders. As much as I hated dressing as a girl, now at least, I looked like one. Nobody, not even Brian or Stan, would ever know who I really am. Only Jenny knows, but when she finds out about this, well, she'll flip out. But she likes having another girl around, and telling everyone who I am would only make it harder on her as well as me. As I dressed, Mom mentioned that most of Beth's clothes would be close to fitting me, and asked me if I wanted to move into her bedroom. I said no, but asked if I could move the vanity and big mirror, plus any clothes that I thought that I liked, and she agreed. It was my first move to accept my fate, but now that I looked at least somewhat like a girl, I had no reason to fight it anymore. Mom and I cleaned a space in my room, then moved the vanity and mirror into my room. After she left, I went into Beth's closet and moved the clothes of hers that I liked the best. Jenny came over every day I wasn't at the Hansons after that, and we hung around together, doing girl things. Mrs. Hanson showed me how to sew, then had me help her alter some clothes. I guess I was pretty good at it, because she bought a pattern for me, then together, I picked out some material, and she showed me how to lay it out, but that's as far as I got. Mom had organized my birthday party for that Saturday, and Mrs. Hanson let me go home at 1 on Friday. Mom was waiting for me when I got home, and I was taken to the salon where they cut my hair again, then I had my nails done. From there we went to a lingerie shop, and Mom bought me some very soft panties and a new bra to match, then shoes, and more jewelry. By the time we got home I wanted to try on all the new stuff, but Mom said no. Instead, she had me undress, then used the razor again, and sat me down so she could pluck my eyebrows a little. After that we had dinner, and I lounged in my nightgown. In the morning, right after breakfast, Mom told me to take a bubble bath, and because she spotted a few hairs, and I had to shave as close as possible. By the time I stepped out of the tub my skin was silky smooth and soft to touch. Mom showed me how to dust my body, then I was allowed to pull the new panties on. The satin slicked up my legs and gave me a shiver, then, when I pulled them to my waist, I could see that the high cut accented my slit like no other pair of panties I owned. I did my own makeup, but more dramatic, using brighter colors, and for the first time, black eyeliner and pencil to outline my eyes. With the smoky gray and pale purple eyeshadow, I felt very grown up. The bra was a new style, Mom called it a push-em-up, and when I put it on I saw why. My tiny boobs were pushed up and out, and made it look like I had a lot more than I do. Then she handed me a newer gel-padded panty brief which was padded with the gel pads that gave me rounder hips and a bigger bottom. The slip was short and silky, the same color as the dress, which hung on the closet door. I pulled the pantyhose on, then she helped me slip the dress over my head and zipped it up. The dusty rose color was perfect with my blonde hair, the low neckline showed off just enough cleavage to get attention without being stupid about it. I stepped into the matching satin shoes, then let Mom change my stud earrings for the rose, white and gold chandelier earrings. The matching choker necklace pendant hung right over my Adam's apple, centered between my breasts. Without a thought, I traced my lips with the dusty mauve lipstick and used the coral blusher on my cheeks. I wore no other jewelry, and other than perfume, I was ready for my debut as a 14-year-old girl. I was surprised to find myself looking forward to this party, and more, I really liked the way I looked. I know it showed when I smiled at the image I saw in the mirror. Less like a little girl, more like a teenage girl. Mom went to change, but told me to wait in my room until she called me. About an hour later I heard her call me, and I stepped out of the room and walked to the landing, paused, then walked down the stairs. Right at the bottom of the stairs stood my father. He was smiling, his hand held out so I could take it, then he walked me out on the patio. All of the people sang happy birthday, then Dad, and I walked around to greet everyone. The very last person I stood in front of was Brian. He looked at me, then took my hand in his and kissed me on the cheek. There were a lot of hoots when he did that, but it made me feel like a girl. It was a wonderful party, and everyone was having a great time, including me. Mr. and Mrs. Hanson gave me a gift certificate, Mom and Dad gave me a ring, and others gave me perfume, small makeup kits, earrings, and so on. The music started, a slow number, and I felt a hand on my shoulder. Turning, I saw Brian standing there, a stupid grin on his face, but I let him lead the way, and I danced with another boy for the first time ever. The party lasted about 3 hours, then everyone went home, leaving me all alone with my parents. I had never had such a nice time, and as I sat in the chair, I was smiling. I think Emily has discovered she likes being a girl. I think you're right. Did you see the way Brian was watching her? He made that boy Stan look like a wallflower. He was just being polite, that's all. Then why did you kiss him, right on the lips when he left? Dad had me there. Why did I kiss Brian? Because I'm a girl now? I don't know. I just did it because it seemed the right thing to do. I went to my room and quickly changed into a pair of shorts and a top. I skipped the bra, however. When Dad saw me, he almost choked. The nipples of the breast forms were pushing out against the thin material. Mom scowled at me, but didn't say anything, and Dad left about 2 hours later, leaving Mom and I alone again. I have the suspicion that you aren't going to become my son again, are you? You like being a girl so much that you think like one, act like one, and now there is Brian and Stan. It was to the point, and dead accurate. I didn't want to say anything, because of Dad, but Mom hit it right on, and after a tiny wait, I nodded my head yes. Mom said nothing for a moment, that told me that if I wanted to, she would arrange it for me to attend school as Emily. I ran to her and hugged her tightly, the tears ruining my eye makeup. Jenny came over about then and asked me to join her in her pool. Mom said it was okay, so I went to my room and put on the swimsuit I had salvaged from Beth's room. Brian was there, wearing a skimpy next to nothing swimsuit of his own, and not to be outdone, I pulled off my blouse and shorts, revealing the bikini I had on. Like all teenagers everywhere we played, and he teased me, but he also kissed me twice, right on the lips. Jenny laughed at that, but said nothing, especially after she saw the way I looked in the bikini. For the rest of the summer I worked with Mrs. Hanson, learned to sew very well, and began to alter the clothes that didn't quite fit me just right. Brian asked me out 3 times, and each time we had a great time, and each time he kissed me. I know he was excited, I could feel it against my leg. A month before school started I was taken to see a doctor, and the first step to womanhood was taken. I never went back to my manhood, and developed like most other girls that were 14. By the time I was at midterm, I no longer needed any padding, nor did I have to shave my body. Brian filled out and got taller, while Stan got even taller than that. Jenny and I became close friends as only girls can get, and as time went on, I met someone else and Brian fell to the wayside. I have 2 more years before the doctors will do anything permanent, but they did fix it so that I no longer use glue to hold me in, which makes it possible for me to take gym and so on with all of the other girls. The bus crash that took my sister and threw our family into chaos was the catalyst for the changes. I still miss Beth and her gentle smile, but she lives on in my memory, like a warm fuzzy that we cling to. Her death was tragic, yet now, Mom and Dad are back together, and I have found a role in life that fills me with joy. Strange how things turn out, isn't it?